Thank you all and welcome back to Trust All Truth. This is Emmanuel here, back with another introduction. Today's introduction is the LGBT plus community should not raise kids. I understand that this could be a controversial statement, but nonetheless, I will explain why this is so. As it states with Trust All Truth, I try to provide not arguments, but just the truth that if questioned, you may question. As a general rule, I try to give facts. I do my best to state how they are true, or how you can come to those conclusions yourself. This is not a pros or cons list. I am considering the very best of circumstances, even the best of circumstances with LGBTQ plus community, and I understand that there are some heterosexual couplings within that community as well, but as an overarching thing, genderqueer, transgender, I'm trying to express this as much as possible within a general statement, which is they don't like to be boxed in, but I'm putting this inside of a box for this moment because I'm considering any sexual deviancy outside of inherent heterosexuality. Those people should not raise children. And here's the first reason. Will never be in the best interest of the child. Now, how do I find that it will be never in the best interest of the child? Nominal point is best interest. So we're considering the best of circumstances. If you were to place the perfect heterosexual parents and the perfect sexual deviant, where would the best potential outcome come from with that child? And that's sort of a weird thing, because there's a quality of imperfection that will always be within someone that is sexually deviant or has a non-heterosexual relationship. There will always be something that is not normal, non-inherent, something influenced. And considering the potential of the best outcome, the child will lack resources or / potential to utilize later in life. So they won't even have the option of understanding or being non-influenced by the children. They will have an unequal potential outcome to utilize knowledge and with available resources. The lifestyle itself, outside of heterosexuality, is a singular choice of the parent that will not positively influence the child. The child will also be encouraged by their parents, either you can say unorthodoxness or their unconventional lifestyle. Encouraged by and to be unconventional. Automatically encourage to support the lifestyle of the parents. Diving deeper into these, the example a parent presents to their child is first in their lifestyle, what they do, what they encourage, how they live, the behaviors that they portray, the behaviors that they promote, and the behaviors that are allowed around the child, the environment, right? There's a certain nurturing. You can have all the care, the shelter, right? The bare minimum, the feeding them, sheltering them, keeping them out of relative harm's way when it comes to physical dangers. But something that is not heavily considered today is the psychological damage that parents will inevitably cause to their children. And that's what I'm considering. The mental, psychological, and emotional damage that will be inflicted upon a child within these, when we consider the best of outcomes, especially if we consider homosexual, anything that a child could not have existed without the participation of someone outside of that relationship. In general, if two females, two males, or a female and a male that are a female and a male, anything of that sort, that lifestyle that they live, those roles that they take within each other, in each other's relationships, they are presenting themselves to the world as they want to be presented. The world understands that they have made a choice to represent themselves as they want. A reconstruction of reality, so to speak. A recharacterization of physical attributes as well as behavioral attributes that are commonly associated with masculine and feminine, or male and female, or mother and father within a relationship. And this is considering the best of outcomes. If they both act motherly, if the two fathers act fatherly, or there are things, behaviors that are necessary for a child to experience, all encompassing what is natural between them in perfect conditions. Male figure, female figure, mother, father, those attributes equitably encourage the child to live the healthiest lifestyle possible with the attributes that they need to survive. And whether the child is a boy or girl, they will more likely reflect the attributes of the sex of the parent that they correspond to, recognizing how the way that parent interacts with the other parent opposite to them is how they should react within a similar relationship in the future. So these are tools and the resources that a child learns while it's being raised. Some of these things are never directly taught. They are just learned behaviors. The environment, the exposure to these classically intrinsic relationships, father-son, father-daughter, mother-son, mother-daughter. If the potential for those lessons that you learn naturally, the potential for these exposures are not available within most of the considered LGBTQ relationships. So the child would always be at a disadvantage no matter what, because even if, perfect condition, the LGBTQ parents, the queer parents, sexually deviant, homosexual parents, other those things, let these children know about these other type of relationships, expose them to the idea of it. If it is not presented to them, they have nothing to go based off of except words, an ideology, a thought, a feeling, and that child will have no connection to it unless the rearing of that child is then given onto another relationship, in which case the parents of that child knows that their relationship is not the best, and that would be the ultimate love, is for that couple to give that child away to a couple that has the best potential in exposing that child to the way a natural relationship should be, to survival of themselves, the health, the mental health, the physical health, the legacy. Because presented in these atypical relationships, that child would always be at a disadvantage. And even in the perfect conditions, they will be taught to circumvent reality and sympathize with idiosyncrasies. What does this mean? This means the visual. Children begin to form an understanding of the world and how things come together based on their experiences, based on their environment. So if a child starts to think where the children come from, eventually, if you left the child alone not to think, understand that the child would then assume that the male and female create a child. Whether or not they know the details of how the connection is made, that will be the understanding, the base understanding. This relationship that they see, they figure that this connection, this relationship creates me. That's at a very, very young age, very base age. If the child, the same age, same influential, same inquisitive, same curiosity, at that age, at those times of development where they start questioning the world, forming their common sense, and they are not in an environment where they have occurred naturally. The relationship they're exposed to did not create them by itself, does not have the potential to create them by itself. The child does not know that. The child will then, at that age, assume that this relationship created them. And maybe as young as they are, it's inconsequential at certain points, because children think they have imagination. They create realities as well with their imagination. But their created reality is still based in an understanding of what they've been exposed to. And how long will their idea of this non-normal formation of themselves, how much will it influence the future of their thought process? This idiosyncrasies. The thought that the parents of these children will more than likely tell their child something like this: be you, be who you want to be, love who you want to love, and don't let anyone tell you no, that you can't do it. Don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do. Love who you want, be who you want, and let nobody tell you that you can't. And so the parents will say this in support of their own relationship, that they do not count as self-destructive, but not knowing how destructive to that child. The choice, the singular choice of this parent, of these two parents, the singular choice to be together, to raise this child in an unhealthy environment, an environment that is not conducive to the healthy rearing of a child, the proper forming of mental functions and understandings. Rational thought will be subverted by emotion and personal experience. How do I get there? It's not hard to get there. It's not hard to understand. Rational thought will be subverted by emotion and personal experience. So the rational thought of these sexually deviant relationships, LGBTQ, queer, gay, lesbian, is that the rational thought is these two together in a homosexual relationship, a child cannot be created in this environment, therefore a child should not be in this environment. Subverted by emotion. These two parents love each other. These two parents can love something else, can teach a child to love something else. Emotion, personal experience or wild experience, radical exceptionality. Heterosexual couples don't do it well either. Why can I not do it well? I can be a better parent than a heterosexual couple because I can show this child love, unconditional, right? I can show this child, I can take care of it, just like any heterosexual couple. Rational thought is the resources. There's none of that stability. And I completely agree that many heterosexual couples do not raise their children properly. But the potential is what I consider. The potential for correction and then introduction of these resources that they do not currently possess. They can be attained because that relationship is normal. That relationship is nature intended, biologically supported, biologically motivated, and biologically sustained. The only way human life can continue to go forward is with heterosexual couples creating children. The most effective, decent human race. Decent meaning the best outcome. The child will be encouraged by their emotions, because in a homosexual relationship, there is no life that can be created within that relationship. No life will extend beyond it. So it's a feeling of connection or friendship that has a sexual a sexual part to it. Even if they're non-sexual, there can be nothing created in that relationship. There was never any potential. Nature did not intend for a child to be created in that relationship, in that sexual relationship. Whether or not the feeling of their expression is so intense. There's a feeling. This is a path to nowhere. It's a path to death. There is no legacy. There is no furthering of this line. This child is encouraged to reconfigure the natural state of the world to their own personal feelings. This will have to be encouraged by this parent in order for them to reasonably have support for their own lifestyle in rearing a child. The only way that this child would be able to gain any sort of insight to the world as it originally was and as it is intended and as will be the most beneficial to them is if somehow these sexually deviant couples disavow their own lifestyle for the sake of their children, for the sake of the children that they themselves are putting in a very dangerous position. In its totality, a dangerous position for the extended life of this child in understanding all parts of the world, all potential, in understanding the potential of the world, even in the best of situations. Opens the door. I will be making some introductions. I'll be making some further comments in my next video. But this is the initial video. Non-heterosexual relationships or any sexual deviant relationships, LGBTQ, homosexual relationships that raise children, there will be an inevitable mental health crisis for the child that is raised in that environment due to some type of confusion. There will be a crisis. There will be, because if the parents love these children, and this is something I will express in another video about love. What is love? You're setting your child up for a disaster, because there will be questions. There will be things that you have to justify. There will be empathies, sympathies that you must encourage to that child in order to make your lifestyle acceptable to yourself and tolerable to society, that they allow you to have children. You will have to brainwash your child, not just indoctrinate. You will have to shield your child from most forms of reality, most behaviors in reality. You will have to configure their mind in a way that they do not hate you, that they do not grow to despise you. And if you fail, I hope you do. Because just as heterosexual couples that do not care for their children, these are the same acts they do. They manipulate their children into believing the behaviors that they are giving them are okay. Abuse, child abuse. You normalize a behavior so that they get used to it. And when they see something that is not like this on the outside, either they are confused by it, or they despise it, they're jealous of it, and then they have to have this internal battle of why. These revelations, when reality ultimately, if you give them enough space to discover reality for themselves, ultimately they will find, and you will find, that they have been manipulated negatively, their life altered, and you will have to live with that. Just as heterosexual couples that abuse their children psychologically, physically, and emotionally. That's my introduction for this video. Thank you for watching. I will be back in the next video, and this will be a series that I will continue for a few episodes here. And please leave your questions if you have any. Please involve yourself with this conversation. This is nothing that I would do without any objection. Not although. This is something that is naturally understood with a little bit of thought, rational thought, expanded for a few minutes. I am not attacking anyone's personal choice. What I am doing is attacking the relationship a parent tries to have with their child. Children must be protected. That is one of my sole purposes here on earth, is to protect children, because protecting children means we protect the earth. If you don't protect the children, what's the purpose of the future? There's no point to consider it, which is something that these sexually deviant couples obviously have no problem with leaving unconsidered. The future. They are self-involved with their own beliefs, their own feelings, and their own satisfaction, their own pleasure, that they disregard the way the choices, personal lifestyle choices, affects the lives of the people that they influence or they interact with. And that is this is what is tolerated in society. There are already programs that prevent, that discourage and protect children from heterosexual couples that abuse and manipulate their own children. Is it the best system in place? I don't believe so, not so whatsoever, because there's a lot of things that people don't consider when it comes to rearing a child, and what is they are influenced by, It's much more than society is willing to consider, because a lot of it is promoted by society in order to have a more monolith culture. In order to have, as much as they're saying free, be who you want to be, they're just having you be tolerant of all these things so that the people as a whole will accept anything. So any challenge to anything is considered an attack. So you'll have the common enemy, which is something that disagrees with your own want, and everyone that bans and that has a disagreement with that want is your new target. And it shifts your focus from who this marionette is that is intentionally making things more socially acceptable, so they redirect their attention, the attention of those being manipulated from the manipulator. So people are always focusing on the wrong enemy, the wrong thing they need to defend themselves against. And I will not do that. And that's why I'm trying to uncover these things for you. It's not a personal attack. It's an attack on ideology. It's an attack and a defense against the things that will harm our children. And I will not let that stand. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all in the next.